If you're an American citizen, maybe you feel a little bit silly right now, like a chump. If you came here legally, if you are here legally, look at the kind of money they're throwing around at people, potentially, who came here illegally. The Biden administration actually considering this plan of offering $450,000 to each separated person, an average of $1 million per family. 940 families reportedly filed claims so far, eligible for families separated in 2017 and 2018. This is actually part of a settlement that may happen between the Biden administration and certain left-wing groups, and this would be the compensation package. Look, it's really an effort to damage the legacy of Donald Trump. I think that's the goal here. The reaction, understandably, this is an insulting idea. Take a look. I mean, look at the discrepancies we're talking about. Military families get $50,000 less in payments after a service member dies while on active duty. It's disgusting. Those who break the law should not be getting better treatment than our service members. Next. Paying $450,000 to separated illegal migrant families will incentivize not only more illegal crossings, but abandonment of children at the border. It's encouraging child trafficking. Also, from Tom Cotton, it is unthinkable to pay a burglar who broke into your home for the psychological trauma they endured during the crime. Makes a lot of sense. How about this, Kevin McCarthy? It is a slap in the face to our law-abiding citizens who wake up, go to work, and pay their taxes. And finally, from Steve Womack, President Biden wants to send the IRS to surveil your bank account while cutting checks with your money to people who've broken our laws. This is really crazy stuff, but we've been here before. Actually, some of this, what's happening right now in America, reminds me of the crazy mass murderer, Charlie Manson. He killed or orchestrated the killing of families in California in 1969. It was such a wild case. Now, it was called Helter Skelter. That was Charlie Manson's idea to start a race war. Totally insane, but this crime was so gruesome, he thought in his deranged mind that somehow the African-American community would be blamed and it would erupt a race war. That's crazy stuff, but you know what? We're kind of feeling a little bit the same vibe lately. This country had racial harmony not very long ago, all right? Actually, I was one of those people in 2009. I thought it was beautiful. First African-American president, 2013. Twice this country has elected a black person president. And, you know, I was not into Obama, all right? I was fooled the first time, not the second time. But wasn't he supposed to be the first post-racial president, something like that? And now look at where we are. I mean, sick, vile stuff every day in our public space. And the radical, weird stuff, that's where, believe it or not, that's where they want the center to be right now. This is a tenured professor, no kidding, fully tenured professor at Rutgers University. May sound crazy, but she speaks for so many, and be careful when you criticize her.
I think that white people are committed to being villains in the aggregate. The thing I want to say to you is we got to take these out. That's the thing that white people don't trust us to do because they are so corrupt. You know, their thinking is so morally and spiritually bankrupt about power. Whiteness is going to have an end date because it is not, despite what white people think of themselves, they do not defy the laws of eternity, right?
So it's not just some crazy person. This is where we are. This is mainstream right now. Rutgers University, this is academia. How about the media? Just as bad, just as bad.
This is a typical case of a white womaning, right? So we see the disrespect, we see the privilege.
White women have taken an active role in the maintenance of white supremacy.
Why not the same media attention when people of color go missing? Well, the answer actually has a name: missing white woman syndrome.
The privilege of this guy during his confirmation hearing, we saw white man rage on full display for everybody.
All right, so that's just a little taste. And they're getting their cues, by the way, from the DNC, from Harvard University, from what some people call the cathedral. And everybody's falling for it, including corporate America, AT&T, the classic phone company, they've gone crazy woke as well. Take a look at some of the material we're seeing out of this company. The recommended reading list again, this White Fragility by Dr. Robin DiAngelo. This is horrific stuff that AT&T is pushing internally. Also this, a 21-day racial equity habit building challenge. AT&T, the phone company, has gone woke as well. And of course, we know this already, the military.
I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it.
Disgusting, but in a way, he's following orders. He's taking the cues from the Biden administration.
One of the president's core objectives is addressing racial injustice in this country, not just through his rhetoric, but through his actions.
Racial injustice, critical race theory. Critical race theory basically says that America is rotten to its core. And they're doing it right now at this time. Why? Why now? Barack Obama had all that power for so long, he didn't go there. In fact, whenever he talked about race, he did it on his terms, and he did it in an ugly way sometimes.
Words alone do me no justice. So, Mr. President, if I'm going to keep it 100, yo, Barry, you did it, my did it.
The N-word. The N-word is okay when the President of the United States uses it or hears it. If he wants to hear it. Very strange. Nobody can figure it out. Although, basically, I think I have. He was a radical in his heart. He wanted the power. He only tried to get so much accomplished because, well, he actually explains it right now to Bruce Springsteen.
So if you ask me, theoretically, are reparations justified? The answer is yes. What I saw during my presidency was that the politics of white resistance and resentment, all that made the prospect of actually proposing any kind of coherent, meaningful reparations program struck me as politically not only a non-starter, but potentially counterproductive.
He's talking about white resistance and white resentment. He never would have become president without white people. Again, we thought it was a beautiful thing. We were fooled. He had a radical agenda in his heart, but, didn't feel quite comfortable pushing it. Now he does. Now he does. Why? Because there's an empty suit front man standing in for him. Joe Biden, all right? He's the guy. Not smart, compromised. He's willing to go along with anything. His son, he's got to protect his son. I think that's what's happening here. Funny that it was Joe Biden, the man who once shamed a black man, called him not being black for potentially wanting to vote for Trump. This is weird stuff, everybody. And now he's on the world stage representing all of us. I was embarrassed when he met the Pope, the Holy Father. You would think this would be the one guy Joe might listen to. Instead, gas bag Joe. Watch.
You are the most significant warrior for peace I've ever met.
Lei è il guerriero più forte per la pace che io abbia mai incontrato.
And with your permission, I'd like to be able to give you a coin.
E con il suo permesso vorrei offrire questa moneta.
It has the U.S. seal on the front. I know my son would want me to give this to you because on the back of it, I have the state of Delaware and the 261st unit my son served with. The tradition is,
E la tradizione è,
I'm only kidding about this,
e scherzo,
if next time I see you, you don't have it,
volta, se lei non la
you
vedo
have to
non
buy
ce
the
l'ha,
drinks.
allora lei deve offrirmi da bere.
Now, I'm the only Irishman you've ever met who's never had a drink.
Ma io sono l'unico irlandese che...
He thinks he's charming. Handing the Pope a coin with the shape of Delaware on it. Wow, I'm sure he was deeply, deeply moved. Things even got weirder.
He was a famous African-American baseball player in America. The press walked in the locker room and said his name was Satchel Paige.
Si chiamava Satchel Paige. Allora gli giornalisti sono andati nello spogliatoio.
The commanding officer said, Satch, no one's ever pitched to win at age 47. how do you feel about pitching to win on your birthday? And he looked at me and said, boys, that's not how I look at age.
I'm sorry, what is
Boys, that's not how I look at age.
Dice, ragazzi, non si guarda all'età.
I look at it this way. How old would you be if you didn't know how old you were?
Quanto vecchio saresti se tu non sapessi quanto vecchio sei?
You're 65, I'm 60.
Lei ha 65 anni e io ho 60.
You see that? The interpreter. Even the interpreter couldn't believe what was happening. So Joe does all the talking. And finally, the Pope gets a break. Joe's alone. They ask Joe, so what happened? What really happened? I mean, after all, Joe, you're pro-choice. You're pro-abortion. The Pope isn't. Did that come up? And what about you and the communion? What about all that?
Mr. President, did the issue of abortion come up at all?
No, it didn't. It came up and just talked about the fact that he was happy I was a good Catholic and keep it secret.
Well, we know about Joe and the truth. Who knows what really happened behind closed doors? Seeing Joe with the Pope, seeing the phony togetherness on Joe's part, somehow that togetherness, it was phony. And the division between Trump and the Pope seems somehow more genuine and in a way more holy. Donald Trump actually had a feud with the Pope. Remember that? And somehow, as crazy as it sounds, this exchange, being that it was genuine, I think somehow was more truthful and more appealing than what we just saw out of Biden.
He actually said that maybe I'm not a good Christian or something. It's unbelievable, which is really not a nice thing to say. For a religious leader to question a person's faith is disgraceful. I'm proud to be a Christian, and as president, I will not allow Christianity to be consistently attacked and weakened, unlike what is happening now with our current president.
Initially, he was actually having a spat with the Pope. It's when we were first getting to realize what a different type of candidate Donald Trump was. And somehow, you know what? It worked as opposed to what we saw in Rome today. I don't know. I'd rather take real disagreement over phony, whatever that was. All right, going back to Charlie Manson. I know it sounds crazy, but Manson and the idea of a race war in America, that's what he wanted. Now Democrats are actually making it happen, it seems to me. Fortunately, though, it didn't work in 1969. And look at what happened to Charlie. He died in prison. The bad guys aren't going to win. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be wild, but they're not going to win. We'll be right back.
Hi, Rob Carson here. If you love watching Newsmax, you're really going to love listening to our new podcast. It's called the Newsmax Daily. I host it, and I give you the best briefing of the big news of the day, top newsmaker interviews, and even, yes, a few laughs. I know it's hard to believe. So if you're driving, walking, exercising, just about anywhere, you can connect with the Newsmax Daily with me, Rob Carson. Find our podcast online or go to iPhone, Spotify, iHeart, Stitcher, and more, and start listening today.